Live from our studios in Kingstown, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. It's your favorite Thursday night show, Up Late with Sehon Marshall. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the host of tonight's show, Sehon Marshall.
I think I get round of applause there. Good night, good night, good night, good night, good night to all of you fantastic individuals, viewers, fans of Up Late with Sehon Marshall. Thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's program. I'm your host, Sehon Marshall, and I will be with you for the next hour and a half or thereabout. Well, I did say hour and a half because, as always, I allow my good friend Bling to use the program on the mornings on Star Radio, and he requires about an hour and a half of footage. Footage. Okay, that's not the best word. It's not footage, but yes, content. That's a better word. So he requires about an hour and a half of content, and so I do my best to give him that hour and a half for a Friday morning. Let me say good Thursday night to you wherever you are. If you're in our time zone, if you're in a time zone that's ahead of us and it's morning, you're in Europe, maybe, or Asia, Middle East, wherever you are, it's morning. Good morning to you. And thank you so much for staying up late or getting up early to be with us on tonight's program. We have a very packed program lined for you. And I'm going to give you something. Tonight, on this show, we are going to be able to call. And I'm going to put that up on the screen right now so that later on you'll be able to call the program. Now, as always, I'm going to take a couple of minutes and give you a few minutes so you can share. All right, so let's do that. Also, I think I need to get the comments going so that there you go. So I could see the individuals who are commenting. Someone is saying good night, brother. Good night to you as well. And I'm going to now, as always, share. My good friend, my student, good night to you. And I know exactly where you're saying good night from. So I'm going to share now. I'm going to give you that opportunity as well. All you need to do, and I'm asking you to do, is share the feed on your Facebook pages, on your WhatsApp statuses, and so forth, so that other people are able to log on. And I tell you, some individuals have been saying to me, "Sian, look, I don't get the notifications. I'm not sure why. I really am not sure why. But what I would do is I would encourage you to check your notification settings so that you make sure you have it proper and you are able to get the notification so that you don't have to go searching for it. Or some individuals are waiting and they might meet me and ask me. A lady met me, a wonderful lady met me um, yesterday or day before yesterday in Kingstown and was asking me if I don't do it again, if I don't do present please and so forth. And I said, but of course, every single day. And she goes, but I don't get it. I stopped getting it. So check your notification setting. Maybe there's something about present please or update that some individuals don't like to see, and they would probably love to stifle it. You can't blame me there. But please check your notification settings and see if you are able, if you have it set up properly, and make sure that you have it the settings set to on so that you can receive the notifications when I start at the beginning of the program, and so you don't have to miss any part of it at all. I'm finishing up I'm just finishing up sharing it. So just give me a few more seconds, and I will be there in just a few minutes. All right, just a few seconds, and I'll be there. All right, I'm using a fancy bit of technology to be able to call. So hey, if I say call and you're able to call, that'll be perfect, right? All right, so just two more shares. I'm almost done. Just two more shares. So I'm going to my Facebook page and I'm sharing, paste, and it's there. Let's see. Upload with Sehon Marshall. I'm sharing the link there. Yes. Uh, tu- 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 tu. And I'm also sharing it on Upload with Sehon Marshall page as well. It's just a link I'm sharing so that individuals could go and get that link. All right. And that's it. That's it. All right. So I'm pretty much done now. Pretty much done. And we're going to be talking about a few things tonight. I put a list of things so that you can see. Yes, okay. Sherry said, like me status day. So I see the status is up and I see individuals coming on. So there are quite a few of you on already. So thank you so much and continue to share the live. I speak to Little Good Night and Present Please. I continue to thank you and express my gratitude for the support that you have been giving, not just for Uplift with Sehon Marshall, which is growing. The numbers continue to grow, and every week we see more and more people subscribing to our page, and we see more and more new individuals becoming viewers of Uplift with Sehon Marshall, and I'm happy for that. But also, Present Please is growing so fast, and it's just the catchphrase. I was in Clare Valley today, and there's a lady in Clare Valley, affectionately known as Present, and she asked me why you should name in my thing for. You know what I mean? But it's just those fun moments. But here's this really exciting one. It was so warm. I was in Kingstown today, and I stood up under the gallery right next to just before the entrance to the Ministry of Education yard, next to Flo in Kingstown. And I'm there speaking with an old colleague of mine from secondary school. And I saw a vehicle coming towards me, and there's this, wonderful lady sitting in the front. She looks pleasant. I see she's smiling, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe she knows me. And as the car drew closer, she um, uh, motions to me, and clearly she couldn't remember. She couldn't remember the phrase. She couldn't remember the phrase. So you saw her like she's trying to remember, figure out what the phrase was, and then she said, roll call, roll call. So I knew exactly what she meant. I said, present, please. She said, yes, present, please. I'm always present, please. It was such a wonderful moment, with that lady. So I thank her so much. And I thank all of you so much for, really supporting the things that I do, the commentaries I give. I met someone in Paul's Avenue today. He looked out and he saw me and he said, look, it's good to meet you in person. I look at every single commentary, every single thing you post, but I never met you in person. And I was able to, meet him and shake his hand. Same thing with the lady from Calderage. Listen, it's really a pleasure bumping into you, comrades. Those of you who view the content and make this content what it is. I could sit here and talk all night. I can do present please every single day, but if nobody watches, if nobody is informed, enlightened, and encouraged by present please, then I'm wasting my time. And so when I meet you good folk daily on a daily basis, and you reach out to me in that manner, it really makes me feel good, and it makes me feel that, excuse me, what I'm doing is worth it, and I'm encouraged to continue doing it. I'll tell you this. Let me say, and even the individuals on Star Radio who might hear this program eventually. All right, Val, good night. Span, good night as well. Um, you're getting a feedback lately. I'm not sure where the feedback is coming from. You should be getting a feedback. So I really do not know where it is coming from. Anybody else getting that feedback? Because Letty is saying that she's getting a feedback. There's a serious feedback. All right. I'm not sure. Hold a second. Let me get that. I think I know where it's coming from. I think I know where it is coming from. One second. Um, okay, tell me if it's better now. Is it better now? I think I might have been getting. How is it now? How is it now? Tell me how it's now. Tell me if it's better. I think I know where that was coming from. I think I know where that might have been coming from. So tell me it's better now. I'm waiting on someone to message. Still coming through. All right, give me 2 seconds. And I will sort that out. Let me see. Just a few seconds, and I will sort that out.
Live from our studios in Kingstown, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, it's your favorite Thursday night show, Up Late with Sehon Marshall. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the host of tonight's show, Sehon Marshall.
Okay, tell me if you are getting it better now. Tell me that you're getting it better now. Let's see, you should be getting it better. Let's see what the comments are saying. So now you should be getting it better. Let's make sure. Audio. Um, and all right, that should do it. That should do it. Um, okay, this is not good. Let me see. Um, Still the same. 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 Better. 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 That clicking noise is because I was unplugging something and plugging in something else. So you should be good now. Please tell me you're good now. All right. So tomorrow, Blink is going to have to ignore and cut out the first part of um, the program. Perfect. All right. Fantastic. Fantastic. Please forgive me. Yeah, my regular assistant is not here. Um, my regular assistant is not here with me tonight. And so I am doing this on my own. And that's the reason I did some testing before and so forth. But yeah, I guess when you go live is a whole different thing. All right. Now, thank you very much for your patience. Now, I just want to say this, and it's a sad thing, but I have to speak of it. This week, I was informed that a lady, I don't know her personally, I've never met her, but every now and again, I do tune into the service from her church on a Sunday from Victory Kingdom Covenant Ministries International in Calder. I've met her husband, Pastor Leon Williams. I've met him, I've engaged him. I met him at Signature, where he was with members of his family at one time, and I know Carlos Williams. So I met Pastor Williams. I shook his hand. We engaged for a while and so forth. And as I said, ever so often I tune into the program of his church, and so I was saddened. I was saddened this week when I learned that his wife had met her death tragically. That someone had met her and taken her life in a very violent way. An individual full of life. I mean, I saw her just Sunday on the live at church, vibrant, and so to now to have now having now lost her life in that very violent way, and her husband having to deal with the reality of the tragedy, must be something, it's unimaginable for me. And I could only imagine how he's feeling at this moment, him, and the rest of his family, their children, and so forth. I want to extend sincere condolences to Pastor Williams, his family, and his congregation during a very difficult, tragic time. There are people of faith, but even people of faith, as we saw with the story of Job, even people of faith get to a point where they question certain things. And so I pray that Pastor Williams would like Job, question but sin not. And even as he deals with this really tragic and trying moment in his life, I know his congregation would be there with him to comfort him. And I just want to, as I said, express sincere condolences to him, to his family, and to his congregation. A life lost senselessly to violence. And I'm not going to pronounce on any things that the court hasn't pronounced. And I heard a number of things about the gentleman and his state and so forth. And I'm thinking all these are things that the court would adjudicate on. The court would have to determine his state of mind and whether or not he's fit to stand trial. So I'm not going to go into that part of it because that's not for me to address. It's just to focus on extending condolences to the family of Mrs. Rose Williams, her husband, her children, the congregation that she shepherded before the time of her death. All right? All right. So we move on and we get to the crux of the program now that we've gotten those things out of the way. It's a little warm. Is it me or is it warm? Litty, don't cleverly warm tonight, girl? Boy, it's warm. You know, I have my rag all thing because it's really, really warm, eh? All right. So the big news, and I know the big news ain't the news that you're thinking it would be. Not at all. That's not the news that you would think it would be. The big news, let me put this up there. Yes. Let me put this up there. I should switch them around. Right, and show that. No, right, this one. Show that. Yes. All right. So the amendment that the NDP administration was going to pass, the amendment that the NDP was going to pass to bulldoze the constitution of our country has been shelved. They went to the parliament and they decided that they're not going to bring the amendments. And it was interesting to hear the reasoning or the rationale behind it, that there are more significant or more important things to address. At what point in time did they recognize that there were more important things to address? At what point in time? They thought about it, the amendment, and then with less than a week to go, they sent the information out to the opposition, and they had every intention of going to parliament and ramming through some amendments to change our constitution. The amendments, as we know, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because we did a whole program about that last week and we've spoken about it over and over. The amendments was seeking to change the meaning of foreign power or state. The opposition of this country, the parliamentary opposition of this country, led by Ralph Gonsalves, immediately took to the public the plans of the NDP and exposed what they were going to do. Now, we already knew about the case and we already knew what was happening in that regard. But regarding the amendments, I don't think anybody expected the NDP to try and change the constitution just to protect these two guys. It's Bramble and Godwin Friday. So with their supermajority, they decided that they were going to ram through the parliament of this country two amendments, and like I said, one of which was going to change the meaning of what a foreign state is. Now, I did a present please, and I shared a few things that some individuals admitted they had never thought of. Because to protect Godwin Friday's Canadian passport and to protect Fitz Bramble's Canadian passport and possibly Louise Mitchell's Canadian passport, they were willing to put in our law that Canada is not a foreign state. This was ridiculous, nonsensical for a number of reasons. Now, I know they pull it back, but I just want to go through this before I get to the crux of the matter. It was nonsensical, and ridiculous for a number of reasons. The first reason is that the other country is not reciprocating. In other words, while St. Vincent and the Grenadines has a law that says Canada is not a foreign state, Canada's law still has St. Vincent and the Grenadines as a foreign state. Just like how in our law, we are saying that England, the United Kingdom, is not a foreign state. The United Kingdom, in its law, considers St. Vincent and the Grenadines a foreign state. That is why we have to get electronic travel authorization to go to the UK, and they could turn it down. They could refuse it, and we can't go. So they have intentions, or once you come from England, you're not considered to be from a foreign state. But they consider us as foreigners. So that's the first ridiculous thing about it. So much so, I'm not sure how many of you are noticing or have realized, but I saw something pop up and it's been widely shared. I have not been able to confirm it myself, but it's been widely shared that the UK, the United Kingdom, the country that according to the amendment is not a foreign state, has issued a travel advisory about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Could you imagine the timing of this? Where had the amendment been passed on Tuesday, by Thursday, 2 days later, the country, one of the countries that is not considered a foreign state, is issuing a travel advisory about us to its citizens not to come in. But it's not their citizens, it's our citizens, because it's not a foreign state. And then you think of this. So that's the first stupid, ridiculous, nonsensical thing about that. It's like somebody saying, I am going to marry you. And I go and I quote unquote marry you, but you ain't marry me. So you my wife, but I ain't your husband. That's how stupid the thing was. Then I also made the observation, and some of you know this, St. Vincent and Grenadines makes a lot of money from individuals from foreign countries coming to St. Vincent and the Grenadines and buying land. Non-nationals, non-citizens. So a lot of individuals, we call them expats or expatriates, from Canada, from the United Kingdom, from New Zealand, from Australia, different place. They come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines and they want to settle. They might have come down on vacation at some point in time and fallen in love with St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They may have come down on a yacht for sailing week and fall in love with Beckway and so forth. And they decide they want to settle here when they retire. So they come and they buy land. But to buy land, you have to pay what is called, you have to pay for and get what is called an alien landholding license. That's the right for a non-national, a non-Vincentian to own land in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And the truth be told, I believe Dr. Friday, I could be wrong, but I believe Dr. Friday has or had many clients as a lawyer where he made those applications on their behalf, made good money and I'm not defaming Dr. Friday. If he didn't, then I apologize. Made good money doing applications on behalf of clients for alien landholding license so that they can purchase land on Beckway and so forth and build their homes. It means, therefore, had that amendment been passed and pushed through, because Canada would no longer be a foreign state and England a foreign state, and by England we mean England, Scotland, Ireland. Because Australia, not a foreign state. Because New Zealand, not a foreign state. Because Nigeria is not a foreign state. Ghana, and so forth. Any citizen of those countries that want to come and buy land in St. Vincent and the Grenadines would no longer be required to acquire an alien landholding license because they are no longer aliens. You can't be an alien if you're coming from a country that is not a foreign state. I hope you followed me. So we're going to lose all of that revenue. All of that revenue. But keep in mind that the amendment was to be retroactive, meaning that it was to go all the way back to the beginning of the Constitution. All the way back to the beginning of the Constitution. So what does that mean? It meant, in my view, that anybody, any quote-unquote alien, any non-national who 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago bought lands on Beckway, bought lands on Canawan, bought lands on Union, bought lands on St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and paid an alien landholding license, they would be entitled to a refund because, based on the retroactive nature of the law, they were not retroactively aliens when they bought the land. And so I believe they would have a case to go and request a refund on behalf of from the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I'm not sure those guys sat and thought about all those things. What about the medical students who are from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Pakistan, and so forth, India? Once that amendment was passed, they automatically become citizens of a country that's not considered a foreign state. So I could only imagine that they would all walk up, march down to the immigration department, get their forms and apply for their passport for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Because after all, I'm not from a foreign state. Their Nigerian passport is as good as the Vincentian passport because they are not from a foreign state. They don't need a visa to come in. The Pakistani passport is as good as having a Vincentian passport because they're not from a foreign state. I don't think the guys actually thought this thing through. But thankfully, the responsible opposition that we have was able to address the issues, lay out all of the issues, and put things in place to ensure that the issues raised were raised at a local level, at a regional level, and at an international level. You see, when you know governance and you know what to do, it becomes second nature. So it's only things are just put in motion. Things are just put in motion. So, with all of that happening, right thinking Vincentians, and I saw many of my comrades in the ULP applauding the outcome. But I want to tell you, comrades, while I am happy that as a responsible opposition, the ULP did its work to sensitize the nation, this was more than just politics and ULP. This was about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And thankfully, Vincentians agreed with us that it is about St. Vincent and the Grenadines and raised their voices in unison as a choir to let the government know. Nah, it can't happen so. So it was a win for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It was a win for our parliamentary constitutional democracy. And I want to tell the NDP something. And they ain't get it. I'm going to call them tonight. Tonight, boy, I might be a little unhinged. Tonight. You see the triumphalist attitude of some of the die-hard NDP supporters. And they know who they are. I ain't got to call their name. 14-1. Oh, when Ralph was doing this, he ain't been talking. Oh, when Ralph was doing that, we shut up and this and that and they cussing and let the government do you doing. And let me tell Allah something. The 14-1 people. You have been saying NDP all your life. Bunch of you never voted Labour. You've always been NDP. Always. But NDP could not win with just you. All of you who shouting 14-1 and jumping up, you voted in 2001 and NDP lost. You voted in 2005 and NDP lost. You voted 10, 15, 20 and NDP lost. The NDP needed other people beside you to win the elections. It required people staying at home and some who supported Labour previously swinging. And so, in the same way, the NDP couldn't win with just you. And I know why I be. I don't see it on Facebook. The NDP couldn't just win with all you. They needed other people to switch. Same way, the NDP can't keep government with just all you. And all you doing a really good job already. You guys are doing a fantastic job already turning people off. Already, the people who decided to give you a chance are disgusted by your behavior now that you have the chance because they show you the true color. You all realize that, eh? The people who thought that you'd be better are realizing that you guys are just bitter and you're turning them off. As a matter of fact, you're turning off even some of your own. Even some of your own. But for me, my focus is on those who decided, let me get a try. Because let me tell you something. Let me tell you this. The majority of people who might have stayed away or voted for the NDP, giving them a chance, are not people who are unhappy about education, who are unhappy about the way education was done under Labour. They're happy. They benefited. A bunch of them get scholarships. So they like the education revolution. The majority of them, young professionals who own homes under the ULP, were happy about the policy of housing under the ULP. They were happy because they got houses. They liked what the ULP did with the airport and the port and different things. The modern medical, the polyclinics, having MRI modern. They like those things. They appreciate those things. They see those things as positive things. But for whatever reason, staleness or whatever, they decide, let me give NDP a chance. Let's see if they could do better. Because remember, the NDP criticized everything non-stop and they could do better. They could do better. So they were given a chance. But what those individuals are seeing, the bitterness, the hatred, the anger, the stagnation, the finger pointing, the scapegoating, and they're going, listen, that ain't what I gave you a chance to do. When you told me that crime in St. Vincent and the Grenadines was out of control and the ULP didn't have a fix for it, and I was giving you a chance to address it, and I've given you a chance, I didn't give you a chance so that when you come in government, you won't tell me, oh, that is what Ralph used to do, and what we experiencing now is the remnants from Ralph. No, that is not what I give you a chance for. That is not what I give you a chance for. And I give you a chance. You say you're going to make my life better. You say you're going to reduce VAT, this, that, that. And you ain't reduced VAT yet. And they come and tell me, oh, but I didn't say so, I didn't say so, I didn't say I was going to do that. And the people say I'm going to give you a chance, they go, hold on. Boss, now you will give you a chance for. And so when you hear people talking about wanting back the vote, or wanting to take back the vote and those type of things, are serious people, These are not the people who voted for you in 2001 and 2020 who are your diehard supporters. These are people who thought that they listened to you and they thought, okay, let me give you a chance. And all they're seeing is the ridiculous, hate-filled attitude of some of the usual suspects. Because now they're emboldened. They're emboldened. And so the NDP needs to learn fast that the shouters, the ones who telling them you can't do no wrong, the ones who telling them change the constitution, imagine people get a chance to make their life better. You tell them you're going to reinstate teachers, this, that, that. You ain't do a single legislative thing about that. The policy, everything is still as Labour left it, but they could change the constitution to protect passport. And they would, hold on. No, that was not why we voted. We didn't vote to give you a chance so you could change the constitution to protect your foreign passport. That's why we give you a chance. As a matter of fact, that was not the cards. When you campaign, you didn't tell anybody, listen, if you vote for me and we get into office, we're going to change the constitution. We're going to change the constitution so that I could keep my Canadian passport in my front pocket and my Vinci passport in my back pocket. That wasn't part of the deal. That wasn't part of the campaign. I didn't hear that anywhere at all. So keep listening to the cheerleaders. Keep listening to the cheerleaders. And let the cheerleaders continue to turn off those who gave you a chance. And you'll realize, in the same way they swung right, when the time comes, they will swing back to the left. And you'll be stuck with the same people who, for 5 elections previously, were egging you on and telling you you could do anything you want to do and everything you do is right. And you go see how far them go carry you. You go see how far them go carry you. But at least they realize that listening to that small but loud cheering section ain't going to help them. And so they decided, to their credit, to pull it, to yank it. To yank it. I want to see what will happen going forward, because the case is going to happen. And the case is an interesting case. And however it turns out, they're going to be appealed. So we're going to know about this thing finally next year. Sometime next year. And when we do, they would then be able to determine how they want to take the law of the land. But I can tell you, they would be crazy to bring back the amendment in its current form. They would be crazy to bring back the amendment in its current form. They would need to address the issue of citizen, that to run, you must be a citizen of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And then you could put a caveat to say, citizen of St. Vincent and the Grenadines means, you could define that, any individual born in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, any individual born to parents of Vincentians outside of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, anybody naturalized by way of marriage or what have you, anybody who has a dual citizenship, you could define citizen. But you can't bring back this rubbish that you try to pass as an amendment and say we're going to change the constitution, making Canada and the UK and New Zealand and Australia and Ghana and Zambia and the Gambia and all them day the same as the Grenadines, without them reciprocating in their laws. You can't bring back that rubbish there. So hopefully you have time to think about it and come with something proper. Come with something proper. Now, coming out of the same parliament, you had some very explosive allegations made by ministers of the government. You heard Andrew John suggesting that there was massive corruption. And he gave a number of anecdotes. Man coming with truck without any odd any paperwork for somebody sending for X, Y, or Z, and then the man come back for money and he tell the person, well, boy, get yourself a lawyer because we ain't paid. Talked about the way contracts were handed out. And like there was not only general because he can't understand what kind of contracts. I listened to him, I listened to him say something like 40 houses, contractors were paid in full for houses, and nothing was done. These were all things the Minister of Housing was saying. He didn't call a single contractor name who was paid. He didn't call a single, as far as I can remember, he didn't call a single village and say this was done in Sanssouci, or this was done in Sandy Bay, or this was done in Orange Hill, or Chateaubriand, or we paid Jack and Jill Construction for 3 houses in Chateaubriand. When we went to Chateaubriand, no house was complete. We played Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs to complete 3 houses in Union Island. We were paid in full. We went to Union Island. No house was completed. There was only one complete, and one was at the roof, but it don't get paid in full. We gave Goldilocks and the Three Bears money for 5 houses in Barley. 1 in Battle and Glass, 2 in Glebe, and so on, and they only do 3. 2 still ain't do. None of that, None of that. Just wild allegations. Wild allegations. And of course, that is for the base. The base lapping that up. They lapping that up. And at a time when so many things are happening, morning radio debate is about contractors being paid for houses, and they ain't do none. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the bombshell. The bombshell that let me put it differently. That the computer system in the consulate in New York was wiped clean. And I believe the Minister of Foreign Affairs used his parliamentary privilege, but he went on radio the next morning and repeated, and I hope Luther sue him. I heard it myself, I heard it myself. He used the parliamentary privilege, parliamentary immunity, to say what he said. But he went on radio the next day and repeated what I believe to be defamation. You know why? Because I worked at that office. And here are things that I know about the office. I'm going to tell you what I know first from the time I was there. Then I'll move to some assumptions, educated assumptions, and we can come to a conclusion. Here's what I know. There is no single computer system in the office. No server, no connected hard drives, nothing. You have individual standalone system. Well, as a matter of fact, when I was there, the computer that was in my office as deputy consular was rubbish. So I used to carry my laptop to work and work from my laptop. All right? I had to carry my laptop to work. So you have standalone systems. There are individuals outside, clerical staff, admin staff, that have computers standalone. One could be in the Consul General office. Now, what are some of the things that the consulate does? Primarily, it addresses issues of passports. So Vincentians would send passport applications to the consulate. Those are files. The applications are sent to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Passports are processed. Passports are sent back to the mission, to the consulate. Your computer is essentially would be used for emailing and so on, Like you're doing coding, and because most of what happens is that somebody email them back and so on. If you draft a letter, you draft something on the computer and so forth. It's not that there are highly sensitive documents that you deal with every day and so on and so on. People's documents are hard copy, the passport applications. They're sent to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They're not kept in the office. Right? People's passports are there. So you have that. Now, so those are what I know for a fact. I remember that Luther stayed on a bit to assist in the transition of the new Consul General, DCG. That was public knowledge. That's public knowledge. And some friends of mine who were at a quote-unquote welcoming thing on the weekend for Patel, the Honorable Consul General, informed me that Patel was full of praises for Luther, for his professionalism and so forth, and assistance and aid in the handing over and the transfer. Now, we have to be careful. To say there was nothing on the computers is not the same as saying the computers were wiped clean. Those are two distinct things. Let me repeat. To say there was nothing on the computers, because there might not have been a lot of things, as I said. Some letters drafted here or there. Most of the things might be in the email, for example. So if there's a consulate email that Luther used and he gave the password to Patel, he has that. So he has all the communication, whether it's between Luther and Foreign Affairs, Luther and other consulates and so on and so on. That's all there. If you want to print the emails and so forth and have hard copies in a file, redundancy, you could do that. So what documents, and that's the other thing, what documents exactly were wiped? Again, there's a big difference between saying there was nothing on the computer system, or on that particular computer, than saying it was wiped clean. And I hear Alana Day saying that Patel spoke highly of Luther. So how do we go from a consul general, the current consul general, speaking highly and positively, commending the former consulate general of his professionalism and aiding in the transition and so forth, on Saturday night or Sunday night, I can't remember which day it was. And then by Tuesday, there's a bombshell coming from the Minister of Foreign Affairs that is accusing the Consul General of something improper, wiping the computer system clean. Computer system. Computer system. Not wiping his computer. It means when I was there was a lady, I believe she still works there, Waveney Deepas, I think we call her Kim. She works there. Is her computer wiped? Was she there when Luther wiped the computer? Did Luther tell she to wipe the computer? I mean, the allegations, and he went on with it and said that those are allegations, are facts. Strong ones. And if I were Luther, I will make sure that Bramble proves that to the court of law, in the court of law. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you this, viewers, all of this, these smoke screen. And let me tell you, I'll give you an example. When ULP came into office, before ULP got to office, Starkey, John Ralph Gonsalves and so on, they had done a lot of work and they had uncovered a massive corruption situation with the Atlial project. They had gone to England, interviewed people, and so on and so forth. So they had the information. When they came to office, they didn't have to scapegoat nobody. They just published what the information said, and then they went ahead to do the investigation. They said they would do set up an inquiry. They went into the inquiry. The NDP can't do that. But every time they are backed into a corner, they throw out some red herring, get a base, so as to distract people. Every time they are backed into a corner. So remember last week or before when Lavon King made an issue over the fact that Dr. Gonsalves gets paid $153,000 a year for the office of the leader of the opposition, and he's having meetings at his home with dignitaries. Well, first of all, $150 something is just over $12,000 a month. That is supposed to pay your rent and take care of your utilities, your bills, and so on, and clerical staff, $12,000. Okay, for the month. All right. So you understand what kind of office space that could take care of. There are office spaces in Kingston on a second floor that you're paying $5,000-$6,000 for. Just the space. And by the time you're factoring your electricity costs, your telephone, and all your other things and so forth, the clerical staff. But don't people have meetings? Don't companies rent halls and so on for meetings based on the amount of people? We're going to tell KCCU when they have their AGM at Methodist Church Hall that all they have big building up there and so on, and all they going to have meeting down at Methodist Church Hall? I mean, is there a stipulation that says you have to have meeting at your office? You've seen, all of us have seen press conferences coming from the office of the opposition. We've seen it. We know where the press goes when that is happening. You know where you can find Dr. Gonsalves. But there was a distraction necessary because remember, he was planning to go on his IMF meeting and he didn't want to address that. He come back from the IMF and he started to talk about the fact that they're going to enter into a homegrown program. And so it was necessary for some red meat to be thrown. So he had a thing from Minister John and Minister Bramble. So the radio station gonna be running with that. Oh, imagine that. They pay for 40 house and only 2 bill. Imagine that. The people will be full and the house ain't bill. And in the meantime, your fuel surcharge gone up by 11 cents. 11 cents. 400 kilowatt. So for every 100 kilowatt, you're going to be paying $60 something. How will it get me now? For every 100 kilowatt, you're paying almost $68 for the 100 kilowatt. But the last time I checked, it's 50 cents per kilowatt. So you're paying 50 cents, $50 for the 100 kilowatt, and $68 fuel surcharge, you know. This is NDP, you know. They ain't talking about that. They want to talk about Luther wiping computer systems in New York. Meanwhile, they preparing to increase your fuel surcharge and increase your light bill. Something that they promised they wouldn't do. As a matter of fact, they promised that they would reduce the light bill by cutting the VAT. You remember that? They promised in 60 days they are going to reduce your light bills by cutting the VAT. Within 100 and something days, they are increasing your light bills. But they need a distraction. So they started shouting for red meat. They train out red meat. I know. I wonder if poor people, a bunch of us, well, not us, because I did not, a bunch of you who jump up and down behind NDP. Yellow is the code, yellow is the code, yellow is the code. When you go Vinlek with the highlight bill, tell that to the cashier. Yellow is the code. Because the NDP that you voted for, that told you they were going to address the cost of living crisis, that told you that your life was going to be made better the very next day, that told you your light bills will go down because they will address the light bill situation. They'll cut the VAT. Remember when Dr. Gonzalez told you, listen, nobody pays VAT under 200 kilowatts. And more than 90% of the domestic users use less than 200 kilowatts. So cutting the VAT don't really benefit you. It do benefit you. But you weren't listening. And so they use that to hoodwink you. And instead of coming to you and telling you plain talk, listen, your light bills are going to be increasing. Well, as a matter of fact, light bills been increasing how long? Because people meet me in tongue and tell me they don't understand. The first post that he posted was Domo Roberts. And Domo tell me yellow the code. People met me. People met me. No, it's red meat. You know it's a red meat when you red meat lion, red meat. But I guess they make it be yellow. Yeah, the most yellow is the code. But he posted like bill all o'clock. And we knew what was happening in Iran. We knew the likelihood of those things. Did the government come out and tell anybody what they were going to do, what they would do to address that? No, they did not. They did not. You remember when you had the war in Ukraine and things started to go up, our government absorbed the rise in the fuel surcharge. Our government gave subsidies to van drivers. You all remember that? The then government, that is. And the yellow is the code one. And so they were able to cushion people's expenses during those tough times. St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, all of these leaders come out and tell you what they are going to do to help to address the rising cost of living because of what is happening in Iran. Yellow is the code. Computer wipe. 40 hours get paid for 3 bill. Nothing about what the government is going to do to help you with the rising cost of living that is happening as a result of global events. But we want, I remember, I remember, I remember during the campaign and after NDP won, I said, I would love to see how they would deal with an upheaval. I didn't specify what the upheaval might be. Natural disaster, we have hurricane coming, hurricane season. I didn't. I say, I know how Ralph Gonsalves and Labour dealt with upheavals. It will be interesting to see how NDP would deal with upheavals. Well, we see how they're dealing with it, distractions. They're showing us how they deal with real flesh and blood problems of people by distracting them. Look over there, pretty boy. And the gas price going up at the pump. Look over there, the sun is shining. Your light bill going up. Look over there, grocery price going up. That is how they are showing us that they can and will deal with the challenges of a developing country facing exogenous shocks that are impacting the lives of the everyday lives of people to higher prices, inflation, and so forth by distracting them with nonsense. By distracting them with nonsense. So they believe that somehow trumpeting corruption, even while they're in government, is their ticket to maintaining government. Let me tell you something, eh? Like I said, you told us there was a cost of living crisis. You complained about corruption with the housing program. You asked people for a chance to fix it. I've said this many times before. You told them you have a plan. Your plan surely for a housing program can be, now that you're in government, talk about how Ralph and Labour mismanaged the housing program without proving specifically to anybody how that was done. Listen, I want to read something for you. I want to read something for you. I can read it for you. Because, oh, yeah. Do you remember? Do you remember how they used to talk about the debt of the country? Oh, the debt, the debt, the debt, the debt. Countries in debt, countries in debt, countries in debt. I remember one time on a program, Candyman asked Bramble, which of the loans we took, which of the loans we took, he would not have taken. Bramble say, none. Oh, but it's not sustainable. The debt trajectory is not sustainable. Well, after talking about debt so much, I want to read a headline for you. I want to read a headline for you. After talking about debt and how unsustainable debt is and we borrowing too much. Because remember now, the NDP told you their plan was to generate economic activity so you wouldn't have to borrow. And one of the things that they were going to do was CBI. By the way, if you make 50-something countries in the world, not a foreign state, I can CBI. Who I can sell passport to? I can't sell it to Africans. I can't sell it to a bunch of other countries. So you can sell the passport to. But anyhow, that's a different story. I want to give you the thing. Right. So let's talk about debt. And you see, even in Parliament, he said, the man goes to Parliament and says that we face an unsustainable debt trajectory. We had 90 something percent of GDP, right? What is the first thing that Godwin Friday did? What is the first thing that Godwin Friday did? He goes on a meeting to the IMF and he says that here's this now, here's this now, here's this now, here's this now, here's this now. SVG secures US $20 million loan from the OPEC fund. Hear this now. In a significant move to protect its citizens and environment from the increasing threats of climate change, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines has secured US $20 million alone from the OPEC Fund for International Development. So what have been doing loan all the time? Buy carnival costume? Eh? Go brunch and soca? Why have been doing loan? Eh? Go on an excursion to the Grenadines? All of a sudden, there is fanfare. Steve, go to everybody. There is fanfare and glorified. That's the word I want to use. Sensationalizing, borrowing money. All of a sudden, before we borrow money for do city defense. Oh, that. We borrow money to do river defense and so forth from Washington People House. Oh, that. We borrow money to recover from burial and so on. Oh, that. First trip. Not the first one, because all them are flying. All them, everything they fly God. But that's another thing I'll talk about. All of a sudden, boom, we gone. 20 million US dollars. 50 something million EC dollars. And this is now, all of a sudden, borrowing $20 million US from the OPEC fund is a significant move to protect the citizens of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the environment. So when I hear I do river defense at all the rivers, Lady Jane and this and that, and you're doing city defense at Big Sands and Georgetown to protect people's property and so forth. That wasn't a significant move. You complain about the debt. But now all of a sudden, you run to borrow 20 million US dollars. And that's significant because you're protecting people's lives and the environment. You see the twisting of things? Borrowing money is bad, except when NDP borrow it. Borrowing money, bad. Oh, well, let's go borrow $20 million and shoot up the debt. What happened to jobs? What happened to St. Vincent and the Grenadines being flush with money? Eh? What happened to St. Vincent and the Grenadines being flush with money? You know, last week I said this on President, please, and I don't want it to be insensitive, but I had to make a point because it's a serious point. Last week, the popular phrase was masterstroke. Oh, what the government is doing with the amendment to the Constitution, suggesting or stating that England is no longer a foreign state, is a masterstroke. How do I go masterstroke? How do I go masterstroke? But when you walk around St. Vincent and the Grenadines, when you walk through Kingston, forget master. It's just a stroke. Forget master. It's just a stroke. St. Vincent and the Grenadines get a stroke. And hear me out. I am not trivializing a very serious, debilitating illness that too many of our Vincentian brothers and sisters have to deal with. I am highlighting the seriousness of the paralysis that has gripped St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's as if our country has had a stroke. It is not moving. Have you ever seen, many of us, I'm sure, have seen individuals. I saw a good friend of mine who used to work at one of these supermarkets. Good friend of mine. I saw him at the supermarket recently, and I saw him and he had a cane and stuff. And I said, man, is that good? Well, I see you. He said, boy, I had a stroke, but he's moving around and he's regaining his mobility. One of the features of a stroke is hampered mobility. Your inability to move freely as you would want. People say, it's not move. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is limping along in a manner to suggest severe paralysis. Hey, you know much time, listen, I'm in town, because naturally. And I would walk from where I intern, because as you know, part of my training until or experience gathering until I get called to the bar is that I shadow senior lawyers in the court to get the experience, see how the protocols and the processes in the court and so forth. So I shadow multiple. I shadow a senior lawyer on civil matters. I shadow 2 senior lawyers on criminal matters and so on. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there. And so sometimes I walk, and I'm going to come back from the court in pause. That I'm coming from the High Court. I'd say, let me pass by Phil in the market. Phil close. Mr. Phil, call him. Mr. Phil going now. He said, boss, not now. I'm place slow. Thing dead. You go by the supermarkets, they're empty. The place is just dead. St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been gripped by severe paralysis, and that's the only way we can describe the economic activity that we're experiencing. And this is not what the NDP promised us. They promised us jobs. They promised us, let me tell you, well, you go know, because you have a business, so man, you do your thing, you expect people to walk in and think, They promise you jobs. They promise you a boost in economic activity. They promise you investments. They say money go wash. Not happening. So they're taking some time to address the real needs of the Vincentian people. They want to trample the Constitution. It's important to them to protect Friday passport. They're throwing around some unfounded talking points because they don't want people to focus on the fact that their lives are worse off today under this NDP administration. Their lives are worse off today under this NDP administration. Business slow. Vendors balling. Sometimes I go to the market, vendors who me custom see, then I come down yesterday. That's what we did now. That's what we did. And that's what we vote for. And that's why people are saying, those individuals who decided to give a chance are saying, no, when I gave you a chance, I didn't give you a chance from opposition to government to come and tell me the same thing that you've been telling me in opposition. I gave you a chance so that you can fix it. Because you talked about it in opposition. You were able to point it out in opposition. And you tell me to give you a chance to fix it. I give you a chance, fix it. Fix it. Minister John said that they've now retrained or trained some new assessors, and so things will start. Awasi. Awasi are waiting for see. There are contractors who've been working different contracts across the country, not getting paid. Not getting paid. Listen, a lot of NDP supporters are not happy, you know. A lot of NDP supporters are not happy. Because what they voted for, they're not seeing. You know the other thing that they're doing, comrades? The scapegoating. Every time they experience the failure, which is often, the scapegoat. When things not happening, the scapegoat. It's Labour people's fault. Somebody posted on commented on one of my present please and say what what crime could never be solved when they say and ULP people involved sabotaging. So apparently the reason why they're failing, the NDP is failing at almost everything they put their hands on so far, is because ULP supporters are sabotaging. I remember saying last week or before, fire them out. If you feel that everybody's sabotaging you, fire everybody. Put in people. Put in the people. So that's where we are in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We're not in a place where we are building on the successes and building on the gains that we made over the last 24 years. And the gains were many. The people who voted for NDP, all of them, every one of them, are individuals who benefited, who gained, and figured, all right, we did pretty well under Labour. Let me give NDP a chance. See if NDP would take us higher. There's only one party promised to take you higher, to lift SVG higher. One. Tell me what we've won together since NDP come into office. That was a mantra. That was the motto. That was a slogan. That was a slogan. Together we win. What have we won together? Increased fuel surcharge. That's what we went together. Excuse me. Being kicked out of the shelter or being kicked out of the apartment that the government was paying you for. That's why we went together. What have we won together? Vendors, business people. What have you won since the NDP came into office? Slower sales? Lower sales? What have you won? But there are those who waited 24 years. And in their wait, WAIT, they've now decided that now they are in government. They are going to be brutal. They are going to be brutal. I saw people posting comments. Oh, when Ralph was changing the Constitution. When did Ralph change the Constitution? And and some stretches are being made. You know something? I made a statement. I said this to some people last week. I was hanging with some friends, and I was making this observation. There's an adage, there's a saying that goes like this: it is better to close your mouth and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and be proven one. What I mean? Well, you better shut your mouth and let people think you dotish. It is better to keep your mouth closed and let people think they're dotish. Make it that's not like it must be dotish, you don't know. Than to open your mouth and prove to people that you're dotish. And listen to me. Listen to me. Since the NDP victory of 2025, a lot of people have been opening their mouth. And Lord, people who kept their mouth closed, kept their Facebook profiles quiet. People with, who I would see in tongue, and just from their demeanor, I would have a positive impression of them and so forth. I may engage them, don't talk politics and so forth, keep it thing and have a positive impression of them. Oh, okay, that person, speak a few things and thought, oh, okay, that person, know what they're saying. But NDP win and they get mouthed. And I should keep my mouth shut. I should stop. Keep the Facebook private or keep it quiet. Because the amount of stupidity I see expressed and I hear expressed by people who previously I thought was sensible. Mm-mm. And this is not about having a different view, because I engage people with a different view all the time. As a matter of fact, I always see, not just on my program, I have some really good close friends who support the Democratic Party, and we're good. We talk politics. We have robust discussions, and we go away. I hear your view, you hear my view, and so on. This is not about not having the same view. But when somebody would post something like, "Oh, when we have been changing the constitution all the time, it was a master stroke," and they gave examples of the change the constitution, like when he passed the vaccine mandate. What? That was a change of constitution. That was not even a change of law. And so I go, that person had no sense. Straight. That person have no sense. And I might be doing double negatives, but that's all right. Or somebody might talk about, oh, I want to change the passport land, made it retroactive. Huh? So a bunch of people coming out the woodwork now, and they've been very expressive. And the more expressive they are, is the more you recognize, hey, you should have keep your mouth shut. You should have keep your mouth shut. But I will continue to talk, even as if you go on my Facebook pages and so on, you would hear them say, you would see them tell me, shut up, come off of Facebook, me a clown, and so on, me relevant, and so forth. I see all the comments. I don't engage any of them at all. Tala was too out of place, Jill. Tala was way too out of place. Monkey, Tala was too out of place. Tala was too out of place. Yes. You call everybody monkey. But Vincent Jones, you see the same way we raised our voices in objection to the NDP's plans to rewrite our constitution without any consultation, without any notice, and so forth. We have to start raising our voices because I'll tell you this: some very vulnerable people are going to suffer. One of the things that the Labour Party did while in office was to ensure to put things in place to take care of the most vulnerable of our society, the elderly and the very young. That is why the public assistance list was so high, because lots of elderly people were on public assistance, and you had things like the home care for the elderly and so forth. Those were all things put in place to take care of the most vulnerable. And the same thing happened for the very young, people who are orphans and so forth. The government made sure that they look out for those two categories. When you have a situation where the fuel surcharge has gone up by 11 cents to the point where it is now, the fuel surcharge is probably now what, 10-15% more, will make the fuel surcharge 10-15% more than your actual bill, right? Maybe more, 20% more than your actual bill, right? So you have that. And many Vincentians may already be experiencing that, right? And I saw somebody making a comment about the attitude to vaccine as if it's just we. But yes, so you have that coming. And then you have the head of the local Rubis or Sol? Sol, the gas company, saying that, listen, the price for gas going up just now. Well, you see the price for gas going up internationally. So it's only a matter of time. He could call me. Sometimes you pull into a gas station, gas is over $4 a gallon in New York. So it's only a matter of time before that happens there. Only a matter of time before that happens there. So you have a rise in the fuel surcharge that is going to increase people's light bills. You have the prospect, according to the head of the gas company, Sal, here, that eventually the price of gas going up very soon. You could look forward to that, which would increase the price of gas at the pump, which would, once that goes up, the minibus drivers go, wow, they're slicing the cake because they're paying more money. Then once that happens, the cost of shipping goes up, so the price of goods go up. And you're not hearing anything from the government of St. Vincent and Grenadines, led by Godwin Friday, about how they're going to address these things that are as sure as the sun will shine. Nothing. Instead, is distractions. Distractions for their base. Yellow meat for their base. Things that would take their minds off of the real harsh realities of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and give them something to cuss Ralph about, and cuss Labour about, and cuss Sehon Marshall about. It's unfortunate. Because in the same way, Godwin Friday could have said in Parliament on Tuesday that there are more pressing things to deal with. What are they talking about? Development Bank? So you have to borrow money? So amazing how St. Vincent is supposed to borrow money, but people are supposed to borrow money. In coin, that is a bad thing, only for St. Vincent and Grenadines. The citizens, though, we should incur it. Go and borrow money from BOSVG for build your house. Go and borrow money from the credit union to buy a car, and come borrow money to repair your house that hurricane mash up. No assistance? No assistance? Low-cost loans to help you repay and rehabilitate? I see. Well, yellow is the code. Yellow is the code. Viewers, you had a good night tonight. I promised to allow for calls, and I do have my apparatus there, but I noticed that was what was giving me the feedback. So I'm going to have to try a different method once I am doing calls, because it is giving me a feedback. Tammy, good night, my dear. Good night, my dear. Let me thank you guys for joining tonight, for sticking around. All of you, we had a nice audience tonight, and you stayed right to the end, and I'm thankful for that. Please continue to support. Let me put up the banner. Continue to support the program. And there's a number of individuals who have contributed, who've sent contributions to the account on the screen. The account on the screen is there, and it's amazing. I know when people are watching over the program. Why do I say that? Because in the middle of the week, there's no update with Sehon Marshall Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, weekend. But I get notification that there was a contribution, there was a donation. You know, so I know that people are looking at the program during the week, and when they look at the program during the week, they see the banner, they see the information, and they go to their phone and they use the Zelle, and they put a donation towards keeping this program on air. And I am really grateful for every single donation made to this program. You make Present Please and Uplift with Sehon Marshall possible by your donations. Keep the donations coming. No donation is too small. Listen to me. Don't think you gotta go on Zelle and so on and put $1,000 or $500 or even $100 or whatever. No donation is too small. None. So if you use Zelle or what have you, the information is there. If you, we also have a number. As I told you, the number is if you want to reach us, we have a number you can call. But the program is finished now, and I have to really sort out the connection. Spend some time maybe on the weekend and really sort out the connection, because I have everything now. I have everything now to accept calls. And so I want us to be able to do that, right? So a number that you could call us on, and we could engage during the program. All right. Until next Thursday, my dear friends, thank you so much for being a part of tonight's program. Keep sharing it, keep watching, keep subscribing, keep sharing with your friends. Keep ensuring that the program continues to grow and is spread far and wide to inform, educate, and entertain as many Vincentians or viewers as possible. Until next Thursday, God's willing, when I'm back with you, I bid you a fair Thursday night. Rest well, and God bless.